Welcome back to the deep dive. Our mission, as always, is to cut through the noise and get you the intelligence you can actually use. Today, we're tackling a really fundamental problem in any organization. How do you measure performance objectively when you're relying on, well, subjective human beings? We are going deep on the revolution happening in performance management, specifically how AI is completely transforming the, let's be honest, notoriously tricky 360-degree feedback system. You know the one I'm talking about. It's that multi-source tool supposed to give you a complete picture of your performance. So you're getting evaluations from your boss, your peers, your direct reports, maybe even clients. The idea is great, a holistic view, but the reality, it's often just a mess, a political landmine full of bias.
Oh, absolutely. That's precisely the issue. The traditional model, it gathers a lot of data, sure, but it often fails to gather good data, or at least not consistently. So our goal today is to really get into how integrating AI, and we're talking about powerful tools like sentiment analysis and influence weighting, how that takes this messy pile of opinions and turns it into reliable, data-driven insight. We're basically moving feedback from, anecdote into something much closer to actuarial science.
Okay, let's unpack this. And I think we have to start with where the traditional system really breaks down. To really appreciate the AI solution, you have to get why the old paper and pencil way just doesn't work anymore. In the old world, it was simple. Anonymous surveys go out, right? Employees rate their colleagues on competencies, communication, teamwork, that kind of thing, usually on a scale of 1 to 5. Then HR crunches the numbers on a spreadsheet, gives you an average score, and boom, here's your report.
And that's exactly where the system invites failure. I mean, just think about the day-to-day reality in an office. Peer reviews are fundamentally subjective. They're colored by the last project you worked on together. That's recency bias in a nutshell. Or maybe it's just a personality clash. You could have two people performing at the exact same level, but if one is just, better liked or more outgoing, their scores are going to be higher. The data is basically corrupted before you even start analyzing it. And beyond that, the old structure is just terrible at weighting the source of the feedback. When you get the results, it's just an average, but the weighting is either non-existent or really crude. So you might have 10 peer reviews and one from a supervisor, and the system just lumps them all together like they're equally important.
And a supervisor's view should probably count for more.
In most cases, yes. The feedback that reflects leadership priorities or strategic goals gets drowned out by, noise from the team. This raises a really important question.
Which is, if the human element, the bias, the subjectivity is the problem, how can you ever expect to measure performance fairly? I mean, shouldn't we just scrap 360s altogether?
Well, on the contrary, the solution isn't to get rid of human input, it's to make that input smarter, more measurable. And that brings us to the first major AI intervention, sentiment analysis.
Okay, sentiment analysis. It sounds technical.
It is, but the concept is straightforward. It's powered by natural language processing, or NLP.
So NLP lets the AI read text, but how is that any different from just doing a keyword search, like looking for the words "good job"?
That's the whole point. It's so much more intelligent than that. A basic search might see the word struggled and just flag it as negative. But modern NLP, with sentiment analysis, it assesses the emotional tone, the context, the intensity of the entire phrase.
The whole sentence.
The whole sentence. It can classify feedback into these really granular levels of positive, neutral, or negative. It's far more nuanced than a human trying to read through hundreds of comments and guess the tone. Let's take that example from the source material, the mixed comment.
Yeah.
A reviewer writes, "John has great ideas, but he needs to improve his communication." Now, a human might just focus on the negative part, the critique, and mentally mark it as a needs improvement.
Sure, that's what sticks out.
But the AI sees both parts. It correctly identifies the strong positive sentiment for great ideas and the specific negative sentiment tied to communication. It separates the strength from the weakness.
So the AI is essentially separating the signal from the noise.
Exactly.
And that makes the feedback immediately actionable. If I'm John's manager, I see 80% positive sentiment on his ideas, but a big red flag on communication. The development plan writes itself. He doesn't need brainstorming help. He needs presentation training.
Precisely. And that distinction is critical for how you allocate resources. Sentiment analysis helps you tell the difference between real constructive criticism and just, vague praise.
Like, great worker, nothing to add.
Yes. It filters out those empty reviews we've all gotten where the person spent all of 30 seconds on it. It elevates clarity.
I love that. Filtering out the great worker comments is a feature in itself. But okay, understanding the emotion is one thing. We still have the problem of whose opinion matters more. A CEO's comment, even a vague one, probably carries more weight than a detailed analysis from a new intern.
It does. And that brings us perfectly to the second key AI solution, influence weighting.
Influence weighting, okay.
So this is the structural fix. Don't think of it as simple averaging. Think of it more like an investigative journalist who has to prioritize their sources.
Mm,
The AI adjusts the impact of each review before it even gets aggregated. It's looking at a whole matrix of factors.
like what?
Well, yes, the obvious one is organizational hierarchy. A supervisor's feedback will naturally carry more weight. But what's crucial is it also looks at empirical things, like how often and how deeply that reviewer actually interacts with the employee. Someone you work side by side with on a huge project for 6 months. Their feedback is going to be weighted much higher than someone who just sees you in a weekly team meeting.
Okay, that sounds really powerful. But let me push back a bit here. The source material says the AI gives more weight to specific and deep feedback. Doesn't that just create a new bias towards people who are just good writers? Are we grading the reviewer's prose now?
That's a great question, and it's a crucial distinction. The system is designed to avoid that. What's fascinating here is the AI assesses the quality of the feedback on attributes beyond just fancy words. It's looking for concrete behavioral
In
examples.
this instance.
So a vague comment like, he handles conflict well, gets a lower weight. But a specific one like, he handled that angry customer on Tuesday by immediately offering a discount and calming them down, that gets a much higher weight.
So it's rewarding evidence.
It's rewarding actionable data, evidence and specificity. If a reviewer consistently provides that kind of specific behavior-based feedback, the AI learns that they are a reliable source, and their future feedback gets weighted higher, regardless of their job title. In a way, it democratizes the process by rewarding clarity over politics.
That makes perfect sense. The AI is validating the reviewer's reliability before it even looks at the content. No HR person could ever do that manually. Not for hundreds of people.
Not a chance.
And that leads right into the real value here, which is the aggregation. The AI automates all of this filtering and weighting across the entire company. That's how you spot the real patterns.
The sheer volume of data it can process
Yeah.
is where the magic happens. I mean, think about this scenario. A supervisor gives a top performer a glowing review,
Okay.
but the AI has analyzed 20 peer reviews, and it finds that 15 of those peers, all using very specific language, flag concerns about that person's ability to delegate work. The AI isn't going to just average the scores. It aggregates the patterns.
It sees the
It
trend.
sees the trend. It recognizes that a consistent weighted signal about delegation, backed up by examples, outweighs a single generalized positive comment, even from a boss. This stops critical development issues from falling through the cracks.
So it transforms performance management from this rearview mirror thing into a real-time dashboard. And that's the final advantage, isn't it? Real-time aggregation. Traditional 360s were, once a year. By the time you got the report, the feedback was already 6 months out of date. With AI systems constantly pulling in data, you get insights you can act on now.
Exactly. You don't wait for the annual review to find out a leader has a flaw. You spot the trend in Q1 and get them into training immediately. So if we connect this to the bigger picture, the strategic impact is just profound. It changes everything from HR efficiency to talent retention. The source material really points to 5 core benefits that you, the listener, should take away from this. First is increased objectivity. The AI strips out a huge amount of this subjectivity, giving you a cleaner, more trustworthy data set. Second, way better feedback accuracy. By weighting influence and analyzing sentiment, you get a much more balanced picture of performance.
And the third, which I think is the most valuable for the actual employee, is just much better development. Because the AI is so specific, the training can be incredibly targeted. You move away from generic communication workshops to something like coaching on negotiation for cross-functional teams.
Yes, and that ties right into the fourth benefit, the one that always gets the finance team excited: time and cost efficiency. Automation just slashes the administrative burden. HR teams used to spend weeks on this stuff.
I'm sure.
Now it's instant. It frees up HR to focus on strategy and actual talent development, not data entry.
And the fifth benefit you mentioned?
Real-time insights. This continuous analysis lets you be proactive. You aren't reacting to a retention crisis. You're seeing the microsignals and the feedback that might predict burnout months ahead of time so you can intervene.
So what does this all mean then? What we're seeing is the old model, this static yearly ritual, is being completely transformed. It's becoming a dynamic, data-driven engine for growth. AI is solving those core problems of bias and subjectivity with things like NLP and smart weighting. It's making the 360 system finally do what it was always supposed to do.
It absolutely is. And you have to
Yeah.
think about what this does to the culture. This shift from a periodic audit to continuous, real-time feedback. It creates a dynamic where performance is always in focus, always being optimized. And here's the final thought I'd leave you with, something to mull over. How might these continuous automated insights empower employees to actually demand immediate coaching? Not 9 months later in an outdated report, but right when a trend is detected. That speed of learning and the empowerment of the individual to drive their own development, that's the real next frontier here.
Absolutely. The future is proactive, it's continuous, and it's built on high quality data. That's all the time we have for this deep dive. We look forward to seeing you next time.